Okay, so let's talk about The Last of Us Part 2. Where to start? Where to even start? For one thing, this is the first time we've done a video in about 3 months, so that's kind of an interesting thing to get back into the swing of. So, Last of Us Part 2 came out a month ago, pretty much bang on a month. And I played through it and recorded my playthrough and all that kind of stuff. Here comes the yawn. It's back to the good old days. So yeah, Last of Us Part 2.
And that's it.
I don't know how to start. I don't know where to go. This is one of those things that could just take forever. Spoilers, obviously, at this point, I think everyone who really wants to play it has played it or knows what happens.
Very spoiler filled.
Yeah.
So if you haven't played it, just don't bother watching.
I've thought of doing like an in-depth series with clips from the game and stuff, and I still might do that, but it'll take so much time. I just don't know. And I've debated for weeks on whether or not to film this because I've already done my playthrough, although I haven't finished editing them yet and uploading them. So do I give away what I thought about the game? I think it doesn't really matter. No one cares. And Connie wanted to be involved, which wasn't the biggest surprise, but it's rare that Connie will say I want to be in the video for that. So.
Yeah, but it's because I think it's because I want to voice my opinion about it because so many people, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
So many people are shitting on this game and it pisses me off. So I want to say my opinion about it because obviously every opinion out there will be split, but I just think they're wrong. And most of the time I'm like, yeah, it's fine. You allowed your own opinion, but just open your mind up this much. And that's me ventilating that part now.
Ventilating. It's just venting.
Oh, sorry. In Norwegian, I guess we say ventilate.
You can ventilate it though if you want.
Yeah.
So I think it would be best for us to not go into the whole defending the game or talking about the hate too much, because I wouldn't want this video to be more about the hate than...
I want to say more about what I love about the game, and that was just me venting why I wanted to be a part of the video, because it's getting so much crap right now that I genuinely feel bad for and worried for the director and actress of the game. So if they were ever to watch this, they would see that there are people out there who haven't even played the game and who has played it and probably will play it again and again and again, that appreciate the story they chose to go for.
I've been watching a lot of interviews with the director and the people involved in the making of the game, the actors, and it seems like they're very much aware of the people who do love and appreciate the game. And it was interesting, Troy Baker, who plays Joel, did an interview with the director on his YouTube channel, and at one point he said that he found himself looking through Twitter and just not even looking at the people who are giving him praise and just focusing on the bad stuff, and that he realizes that that's the wrong thing to do, but without even thinking about it, he was just skipping past all the good stuff and just focusing on the bad. So at least he recognizes that that's probably not the best thing to do, but it's understandable. It sticks out more. Yeah, it's hard not to. So, again, this could be so long, I don't know.
Do you want me to give my short version of it first, and then you can get into depth about it? Just my opinion? Because I didn't even play it.
Well, the thing is, I could go in depth on this. This could be like 2-3 hours long, but it's... Yeah, but we'll start at the beginning, just a brief introduction before you give your opinion to the anticipation I had for this, because I was a big fan of the first game. You bought me the first game for my birthday in 2013. It was probably one of the only birthday/Christmas presents you got me that I didn't ask for. So it was like a surprise. It was like,
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, it was like, oh, cool, this game. I didn't ask for it, and you'd heard that it was getting good reviews. I'd kind of heard about it, but I wasn't like, oh, I got to play that game or anything. And then because you got it for me, I felt like I had to play it. And then it just became like the best game I'd ever played. And it was like, I remember watching the credits roll at the end and just feeling like, wow, that was like watching a great film. It was completely different to any other game experience I'd had before. And then Uncharted 4 happened, and that was pretty much the same thing. So it was like, okay, whatever they do next, I have to play. And then they announced this game, and I was like, well, no
brainer.
Yeah, and it kept getting delayed, and that was there's a lot of frustration with that. But I wanted it to be the best it could be, And it came out, and I think what we did was, because I wanted to record my playthrough, so I filmed it on the camera, streamed it through the PS4 to YouTube to get that footage and the audio, and then we had the second controller set up with the headphones so that you could watch me play while I was watching it, but you couldn't stay up all night to watch me watch it. So the morning after, you'd watch a streamer playing the parts that I hadn't played, and then eventually you just started watching the streams that I had done. So you kind of watched almost everything I did.
The only reason I didn't watch the stream you played then was because I couldn't find it.
Yeah, there was some like processing issues and stuff.
So most of it I watched you play because that's what I wanted to have the same experience as he did, because everybody plays differently.
Okay, so you can give your short version or whatever version you feel like giving.
Well, when I say short, I mean less than an hour.
Okay.
So my whole experience of the game itself, I knew I wouldn't be able to play it because I can't play the first one because I'm too much of a wuss. The clickers freak me out. I can't handle the stress of it. So I knew that I would have to watch him play it, and I was dying to watch it. Stressing you out in the evening. Come on, start playing. And from the get-go, started out great. Joel talking to Tommy about his regrets and everything and his worries. How he's all awkward around Ellie because he knows he's done wrong and she's being a little bit weird about things. Him playing that song that goes through the whole game. If I Ever Were to Lose You. It's not called that, but that's how it starts. Which again made me like, oh, he's such a dad figure. And it just made me love him more. I loved him in the first one, but in the beginning of this, I just loved him more. And then just the graphics of it all, like everything looked great. And then Abby. And I was like, that's a bit weird. Maybe it is what Luke thought, that she's like Ellie's mom or something. So I was like, okay, don't kill this girl now, you know? And then Abby and Joel met, and this is spoiler anyway, when she shoots him in the leg, I'm like, no! Like, I'm actually sat, like, covering my face. And that wasn't while he was playing, I was watching the replay.
The day after, yeah.
The day after in the morning alone. And I was sat there and I was stressed out. And then it cuts to Ellie trying to find him. And I'm thinking, oh God, this isn't going to end well. And you hear him screaming and I'm like, just go! Like, hurry to him. And I didn't have his voice over the gameplay for that one. So I couldn't hear his reaction, which I appreciated because it was dead silence. Or it was just a game when she finally killed him. And I was sat there and I think I cried for about 10 or 15 minutes straight. It was a John Wick moment for me with a dog. I couldn't stop crying. And I just realized how much I loved Joel, and I haven't even played the goddamn game. That's how good that is. And the hatred for Abby. I hated her so much. So when he came downstairs and was ready to play again, and he gotten up, I turned to him and I said, you make her fucking suffer. And make all of her friends suffer with her. Pull out her toenails, do whatever you have to do. Just fucking kill her. Like, I hated her so much. Like everyone else wanted to. Everybody's supposed to kill her. Hate her. And then you play as Ellie, and all great gameplay, and then you start playing as Abby. And Luke had said this whole time, well, she had a good reason, surely, I don't care. I don't care what the reason is. Can be any reason at all. And then it was her dad. So Joel killed her dad, and I didn't really care that he was the reason, like the only one who could create a cure. I cared that it was her dad. Yeah. They showed that they cared about animals. They showed that they were good people in general. They wanted to do something for a good cause. And Joel was the bad guy in it. I still didn't want him to die like that. But if I was Abby and didn't know Joel, and it was my dad, I would have done exactly the same thing as Abby did. And I wouldn't care if Ellie would come to kill me. I would have killed her too. So I just completely... And that's what made me love the game even more. So when he was playing as Abby, I thought that was fine. I cared about the upgrades. That was the main thing. Because you've been upgrading Ellie's backpack and then you have to start over. Yeah. And it was just the investment of it all, how you got to know her. I didn't care about most of her friends. Well, Owen and Mel. That was... Mel, was it? Yeah. That was, of course, sad. But the the Spanish guy or whatever that spat on Joel. Yeah, just shoot the bastard. And then the sniper thing with Tommy. I knew that was Tommy, but he couldn't hear me because he's got a headset on. I was like, it's Tommy. And he's like, what? I can't hear you. And so I'm like, fine. And then, oh, it's Tommy. Yes! So I was the whole time I was thinking, well, don't shoot him. But yeah, and then it goes back to shooting Jessie. That was sad. I thought she shot Tommy. That was sad. Crying again. And then the whole fight scene between her and Ellie. And I was just thinking, oh my God, they're going to kill Ellie. No, Ellie's in a farm and the kid's a toddler-ish. And they're living together. Her and, what's her name? Dina.
Yeah. And
he's saying like, oh, so this is the way it ends. And I'm thinking, okay.
All right, I'll stop you there then. I'll get to my...
Can I? No, I want to get to the end. Because this is the most important part.
It'll be more suspenseful for the audience if we leave your thoughts on the end until I get to my thoughts on the end, I think.
No, I'm in the role.
You're in the role.
I'm
okay.
on a roll.
On a roll. Okay, right.
Let's do a vote. Do you want to hear my opinion?
Go ahead. Okay.
And then it cuts to Abby again, and then it's not over, and I'm like, oh, it's just having another brownie left when you really wanted more. And then she gets caught, and then it's back to Ellie again, and then she gets hurt, and I'm stressing, and then the whole end scene, and I'm thinking the whole time, she's not going to end up killing Abby. This is a rescue mission, even though she doesn't know it. And then she tries to kill her, and I'm sat there and I'm crying. And then it's the whole thing in the water. She just wants to save the kid. Lev. And she's choking her underwater, and I'm just like, and then, no, it was before that in the boat. She's about to just leave them, and she sees Joel on the floor, and it's that cut scene that's probably going to make me cry now. Of him on the floor. We should have left it. And then she has to kill her. She can't leave it. And then she's choking him, and there's another cut scene, and it's just like a fraction of a second, or more than a second, of him playing the guitar looking up at her. And that was the final scene where they talked together. And then it's so ridiculous.
It's not really. It is,
yeah. And then I just don't kill her, and she didn't. I don't care that she lost her. Yeah, I cared she lost her fingers because she can't play. And then I just think that is great storytelling. You're sat there, you hate her, and then you're thinking, okay, that's fine, and then you don't want her to kill her. And then ending up like this. So I'm just gonna hide. I'm so embarrassed. Oh, that's good fucking storytelling, okay?
Yeah.
You go.
So this is why you wanted to do the video, because you knew you'd be an emotional mess.
No, I didn't know.
Right,
you're gonna edit this, right?
If you want me to. I don't think there's anything wrong with being emotionally moved by something. That's like the highest compliment you could pay, a piece of art, I guess.
That's what it is. It is a piece of fucking art. Like,
yeah.
Never has a game made me feel like this, and I didn't even play it.
Yeah, I'd say this game made me feel more than most movies, really. So, yeah, again, I could just go on and on. I don't know where to start, where to flesh out things. There's so many details about the game that I loved. Just sitting down and just seeing a Naughty Dog game was just like, there was a little like tingle, and my excitement was dulled by the whole like stop-start of the release. Like, okay, it's coming out February. Okay, no, it's not. Okay, it's coming out in June. Okay, no, it's not. And it's just like but once the game started and I was in it, it was just like, even if it wasn't The Last of Us, just another Naughty Dog game, it was so exciting. But now it's like a world that I'm so connected to, and the story that I really love. And a story that I recognize makes a lot of morally questionable choices in the storytelling. I mean, you look at the end of The Last of Us, it's not really a happy ending. It kind of is, because we want them to stay together and we want Joel and Ellie to go on. But really, I mean, it's kind of haunting when he's driving her away from the hospital and he's like, yep, they said that there's no cure. And it just cuts to him just shooting people down. And it's,
People who just wanted to cure the world, and he wanted to save one girl.
Yeah. But it's a choice that maybe parents could relate to, obviously.
Exactly. He didn't want to live it again because he already lost Sarah.
Yeah.
And this scene where he's carrying her out exactly the same way that he was carrying Sarah. And that's what that was supposed to make you feel.
And the cruel twist of The Last of Us is that the whole game is about Joel finding his like humanity again and kind of learning how to love someone again after just completely cutting himself off. And in doing that, he kind of, goes down an even deeper hole at the end when he kills those people and takes her with him. But, he gets a small amount of time to savor that at Jackson, and that's where we start the game. And it's been a few years. Ellie's like 19, and she's more of an adult. She looks a bit more like the voice actress who plays her. And the game was very much marketed as like an Ellie game. Like, we pretty much could see that we were going to be playing as her for the majority of the game, at least from what the trailers showed. And that's a whole other kettle of fish, which I've talked about a little bit before in my playthrough video, where the first trailer, you don't see Joel's face, you never see his eyes, you just see his outline. And that scene when she says, I'm going to find and kill every last one of them, and you think, well, what could possibly happen to make her want that kind of revenge?
Well, it makes you think that it's Dina. Because
not at that point. Not at that point, because at that point, that was the only trailer. It was just that scene of Joel and Ellie, her playing the guitar and saying she was going to kill whoever. So at that point, we didn't even know Dina existed. But yeah, once the other trailers came out, it made you think that. And
because of the kiss and the bracelet and everything.
And then there was the trailer where we see him in Seattle saying, do you think I'd let you do this on your own? And that was the scene where a lot of people were like, oh, yes, there he is, the first time seeing Joel. And I was just like, I still don't buy it. Like, I didn't quite. But even though I was so prepared for it to happen, the leaks came out a month before. I never got spoiled, but people were really mad. And I just thought, okay, either Joel dies or he's barely in the game. And I know that would annoy people or piss people off. And that was exactly what the case was. But even when Abby shoots Joel in the leg, I think I even say it in my playthrough, like, oh, well, maybe he gets to Seattle and like he patches his leg up or something. Like, I was in denial almost.
Yeah, but his knee was gone.
Yeah, he was.
It's like a hole in his leg.
He was fucked. Yeah, so it happened, and I was kind of numb when it happened. But what really made me emotional was the aftermath. Was her going to his house. Yeah. Seeing all the things that he had done, the life that he'd begun to build for himself, the carvings he'd made, the little eagle kind of statue with the two wings, and underneath it is him and Sarah and him and Ellie, and two photographs on his table in his bedroom, and just there's so many little details, some that I missed in the first playthrough as well. And then you and Dina, Ellie, the character you're playing, go off to Seattle. I love the setting of the game. I love the Pacific Northwest, like the kind of like lots of green, and reminds me of Twin Peaks, and it's a similar kind of area. And also, it's one of those locations I love looking at, but would probably not enjoy being in with all the rain and the miserable like weather. But I like it, just, I don't know, aesthetically.
Yeah, visually, absolutely stunning.
I mean, don't need to go into it too much, but the game visually is amazing. Like the scenery, the lighting, the mood, the atmosphere, just everything.
Gameplay.
Yeah, no, even without the gameplay, just the way it looks, and the sound design, the music is great. I love the music was more like ambient at times, which was really nice. I thought that it wasn't overpowering, and I thought they'd probably use a lot of the stuff from the first game, like that main theme. They don't really use it that much. It kind of gets brought back in a few places, like when you pick up Joel's watch, there's a little kind of inkling of that original theme, but most of it is new stuff and really good. Like, I like the urgent combat music when it's like really like, actually the piece when Joel and Tommy get into the lodge with Abby and her friends, and the music has got this like doom, it's like this build, and I'm like, oh my, it's so foreboding, and you just know something bad's about to happen, and it was just so effective.
And the Terminator theme with some of the
there's this kind of Terminator-esque kind of like pulsating
Bonk.
That was really cool. And the gameplay, it's similar to the other Naughty Dog games, and Last of Us, Uncharted 4. They just keep getting smoother and smoother, but it doesn't try and reinvent the wheel from the first game, which I really liked. Most of the same stuff. The crafting was there, but there's new items, there's new customization. Everything's just the prone, where you go down. That I loved that. That's like, I've started playing Ghost of Tsushima, and it's like, why can't I just dive down onto the? I love doing the running dive onto the into prone position, or you can just like hide in really small grass. So I like the stealth elements that are introduced, well not introduced, but are expanded upon in this game from the first one. Yeah, so as far as just the way it plays, the gameplay and the visuals, it's just an awesome experience, just like top notch. And anyone who doesn't like the game has at least said that it's like a 10 out of 10 as far as execution and technical achievements, I think. And so I think people can't really deny that. So the story. I liked the kind of revenge aspect of it, but I wasn't sure where it was going to head. And again, I don't know how much I'm repeating myself, but the steelbook I've got has Ellie on the front and then this mystery woman on the back. And in the opening credits of the game, it said starring Ashley Johnson, Troy Baker, and Laura Bailey. And I was like, okay, who's this person who's got like top billing with Joel and Ellie? Must be a really important character to the story. And then we get to play as her in the beginning. And then I thought, okay, is this going to be like we'll play as both of them throughout the game? And then when she kills Joel, like, we're going to see her story and then learn why she did it? Because, the first thing you think of was, what the hell did Joel do? Really, the answer was simple and almost staring you in the face. But I was like thinking, like, are they going to go really, like, did he abuse her when she was younger? Is it they're going to go really? They didn't, obviously. And that would have been way too far. But, like, I was thinking of all these different possibilities. Is she his daughter, that he just like, it's possible she's around Ellie's age, he probably could have had some nothing night with some woman, years after Sarah had died, and he couldn't care less about having another daughter. And
would she have clubbed him like that?
Well, again, you don't know.
No, I know. It's just
there's any number of things that it could have been. Of course, it was a lot simpler than that, but also a lot more heartbreaking. And it's, I don't know, I love the way that it's set out, because it doesn't neatly, well, it does neatly lay things out for you, but it takes a while for you to really understand it, I think. Because when you first start playing as Abby, I didn't like it. I think most people didn't like it, and I'm playing it and I'm like, yeah, okay, can we just get back to Ellie now? That's what I've been invested in since the first game, and now like the previous 14, 15 hours of this game. And then you pick up these training manuals. It's like, oh shit, there's like new abilities unlocked. I was like, how long are we going to be playing as Abby? Like, and there's friendly banter between Abby and Mel and Manny. And I'm just like, this is written well and it's good, like friendly banter, but I just can't allow myself to enjoy it. There was something else. Yeah, so when we get the backstory of Abby and Owen, who was kind of her on-off again love interest, and we see all of her flashbacks with Owen, and the aquarium becomes this like central location for their relationship and for Owen's character. So you're going around the aquarium with Owen, and again there's this like banter between the two, this kind of flirtation. I'm like, yeah, this is all good. I can't get behind it. And then she meets the two characters from the Scars group. Yeah. This weird cultish group who have like, their faces have got cuts across their face, scars. They
whistle to communicate when they attack people. That's the coolest part, I think. The
clickers in the games are stressful, but the Seraphites with the whistling, that I'll take clickers any day of the week over the whistling. The whistling just drove me nuts in a good way. It was like so stressful. You do anything and they're whistling, like, fuck, they know exactly where, do they know where I am? Or they just like, is it a double whistle?
I started understanding what the whistles meant.
Yeah.
You could kind of hear the difference when they knew where you were and when they actually aimed at you, like they got you in the shots, and when they were just talking to each other or looking for other people and stuff like that. That was kind of cool. They had like a language with the whistling, which is really cool.
Which kind of
and you could see them doing that as well.
Yeah.
Because I thought they were just using their tongue, but you could see them using their fingers when they were doing it. So that's cool.
So Abby meets Lev and Yara, and that kind of starts to change her story a little bit. And then by the time we got to the end of the second day, I think, or is it the first day? I think it's the first day that she meets them. The second day she decides to go back for them. And that's the whole, I mean, that for me is my favorite part of the game, is Abby's day 2, which is where you take Lev to the hospital, and you have to go up the skyscraper, across the sky bridges, and then down through this entire skyscraper and all these like different rooms. I think it's a hotel, and all of these, like, it felt like a Resident Evil game. And then down to the hospital and the lower levels and the Rat King in the garage. This
Wonder
massive...
if you can secretly find the the skyway or whatever with Ellie if you look in the right place.
You can, yeah. Someone has
Really?
spotted the sky bridges in Ellie's section of the game. You can see it at some point, yeah.
But can you go up there?
No, you can't go up there, no.
Aww.
You can see it.
Would have been cool, though.
So, but that's probably my favorite section of the game. The sky bridge stuff was so cool, playing on Abby's fear of heights and stuff, which is introduced right at the very beginning of the game in Jackson when she almost like trips on the side of the cliff. And every time you look down a height, the camera does a weird kind of like vertigo effect. I'll leave that one in for free, which was really cool. And I've Sean Zaran when as soon as he realized this, he just kept doing it over and over again, just making Abby be as scared as possible, which was fine. It wasn't as far as some streamers went, which was just to make Abby fall off the sky bridge again and again and again, and they thought they were so funny and cool and edgy, and saying, "Hey, this is how the game should really end." And it's like, okay, yeah, that's, I don't know. Anyway, Manny, I'll say this, like, for everything that happens in the game and everything, all the perspective that I saw, and it all changed as the game came to a close, Manny was the one I could never forgive. Like, what a piece of shit, spitting on Joel's corpse and saying, burn in hell. Like, I don't know, that left it.
He was a douche, though.
Yeah,
from the beginning, you knew he was a douche.
So I couldn't get behind him at all. And I think when you see him in day 3 and he gets killed, I was like, fuck him. Like, I just couldn't, like, I can have empathy, I can understand, but with him, it just, couldn't care less.
Abby beat him again and again and again with a gold club, but he spat on him, and you can't forgive him.
Yeah. What did Joel ever do to Manny?
He hurt his friend.
No, I don't know. Manny doesn't seem. I don't know. Anyway, so,
no, I don't like him either.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seemed like the salt in the wound that was just way too far. But I don't agree with the way that Abby killed Joel either. It's I can understand the need to draw it out, because if you were to just walk up to someone that you wanted revenge on and kill them straight away, they wouldn't know that you did it.
She's wanted revenge for years.
And sometimes in movies where it's like a revenge film and they kill the person they're trying to get revenge on, they do it so quickly they don't even realize who it is. I'm like, I wish that person had known, like, I don't know. So it's a tricky moral thing where obviously this is a story that isn't real, and it doesn't entirely apply to real life, but I really couldn't understand that most people were still on the Abby needs to die, Ellie needs to kill her brutally, that's the best ending because she needs her revenge, and it's a revenge story, it should end in her getting her revenge. I can't believe we went through the whole game trying to get revenge and then we didn't get revenge, and they
just missed the whole thing.
Yeah,
the journey wasn't the revenge, it was both of them.
Yeah, it's
seeing that there are two sides to every story. Joel killed her dad, who'd she known for 14 years, whereas Abby killed Joel, who'd known Ellie for 4 years. If you weigh up the options against each other, it's pretty fucking simple. Yeah. But you can't put yourself in Abby's position because you're so blinded by the hate by what she did to Joel. I was blinded by the hate too. I wanted her to have her toenails ripped out because I hear that's pretty painful. Anything to hurt her and really drag it out. I wanted her to suffer and all of her friends with her. I didn't care. And then I saw that scene. But maybe it's because I imagined someone killing my dad. And then I was thinking, what would I want to do to that person? I put myself in Abby's shoes. And that's what you're supposed to do. But if you're so focused on Ellie and Joel, you're not going to enjoy the story. You already ruined it for yourself. Yeah. If you can't open up your mind that much. And then I feel bad for you because you missed something great. Because if you really open up and you look at everything and you listen to everything and you try and think for it for a little bit, and okay, fine, if you didn't have a good relationship with your dad, think about if it was your mom or your sister or your brother or anyone that you loved that much. Imagine the love she had for her dad. He's dead because of this man. And this is in an apocalyptic world where rules and crime doesn't exist.
Yeah.
What would you do? You would hunt him down and kill him too.
That's a really important point I was about to bring up. Like, if someone were to kill one of my parents, would I want revenge? Yeah. Would I be blinded by hate? Yeah. But ultimately, well, for one thing, I'm not a violent person. I could never do something like that, no matter how much hate I had. And I also know that that would just destroy me to do something like that. It would. I mean, the whole.
But it destroyed her too.
Yeah. But like you say, this is a world, like Abby has grown up in a world where there are no rules and where people get killed a lot all the time.
That's all they do. They
and
shoot
so
each other.
and so it's to be able to slip into that mindset of killing someone, I think is a lot easier when you're in that kind of setting and when you've grown up in that kind of world. But you look at the three main characters of this game, Joel, Ellie, and Abby, they're all three characters who have done really bad things. And they're also three characters who have a lot of goodness within them. But we just see them in different parts and in different sections, I suppose. I mean, in the first game, I remember when just a random bit of like dialogue when Joel and Ellie are walking around in the first games when she says, you know, have you killed innocent people? And he's just kind of like, yeah, you know, it's just kind of like, you know, so he's done bad shit, you know, he's, and it's, I guess,
well, there's a reason why Tommy didn't want to talk to him as well, probably. I mean, even on the first day, they left innocent people on the road to get killed. Just 5 minutes after the whole thing broke down. Yeah. I know it was because he wanted to save his daughter and his brother, but you know that the world is going to end in shit, so that changes your perspective on what's good and bad anyway. I'm not saying that if someone did kill my mom or my dad that I would go and beat them to death with a golf club, because we live in this world. But if I was in that world setting where there are zombies walking around and I've killed hundreds of zombies who used to be humans, that doesn't matter if they're zombie or infected or not. They used to be humans, and every time you kill a human, that will chip away from your humanity anyway.
Yeah.
So then in that scenario, then I don't know. I probably would have, yeah, because I love my family and I would take revenge. But it's an imaginary world, but it's still supposed to make you feel something. And if you wanna enjoy a game or a movie, you do have to kind of open up your mind a little bit and just try and see all of the versions of it. And that's the only way you're going to really enjoy it. And that's how I just feel that this is the best game I've ever witnessed. Yeah, I know I haven't played it, but I've seen every minute of it being played. And even though I didn't control things, I've experienced it.
Yeah.
Or I wouldn't sit here and cry on camera. Uncontrollably. I would not want to do that on purpose.
Yeah.
And in the end, I didn't want her to kill Abby. I don't know if I would have wanted to if I had been Ellie. Maybe in that situation, because I'd already killed so many people, but I didn't play the game and I haven't killed anyone. So maybe if I was Ellie in that situation, because I didn't know Abby, I probably would have done it. But in this case, you are Ellie and you played Abby and Ellie, so it's supposed to make you feel the emotions of it, not her.
Yeah, so back to day two. No, it's fine, it's great. I love the passion. It's just rare that you're that amped up about something.
It's just such a great game, you guys. You're missing out. Just
I think
it's like not believing in evolution.
I think the hate is dying down now. We shouldn't focus on it too much, but I do. Well, I'll touch on it briefly before continuing. I think that there's just this culture now of people feeling like they deserve things, or that they. In fact, there was a petition to remake the game saying this wasn't the game we deserved, and it's like, you don't deserve shit. Like, this is someone who's told a story, you liked it, which is great. Now they want to tell another story, and you can either like that or not like it, but it's not for you to decide what that story should be. It's for the person who is telling the story and creating the story to tell it.
And it's thousands and thousands of people playing it too. You can't please everyone.
No, you can't. And but yeah, it's this thing that they feel like they deserve a certain thing, and well, that wasn't the story that they were trying to tell. It isn't. And you know, people say, I can't believe that they killed Joel in the beginning of the game. The first game, The Last of Us, opens with a horrible, horrific event of someone losing someone. You've been set up to understand that this is the world that these characters live in. And I think the marketing, even though they kind of tricked you a little bit with Joel, I think it's very much sold as an Ellie game. It didn't really seem to be built around her and Joel going off on an adventure, with the exception of that little fake out in the trailer. I wasn't expecting it because it just didn't seem... It felt like a natural continuation. If you want a story where you play as Joel and you have a Joel and Ellie adventure, you can go play The Last of Us. Like, it's one of the best games ever made. Like, you know.
And you have throwbacks. You get to play together with them sometimes, and it's throwbacks again that makes you more emotional.
Yeah, just one thing. I could go on about this for hours. Some of the nitpicks, but I saw one video. It was like everything wrong with The Last of Us Part 2, and I skimmed through it, and he was criticizing the first flashback with Ellie and Joel at the museum, and he's saying this is a needless flashback that is trying to establish Joel and Ellie's relationship, which we're already familiar with from the first game. It's like, no, it's not. It's telling you what happened after the first game. It's showing you what their relationship is like after the first game. It's showing you the seeds of tension between them based on the fact that she doesn't trust what he told her at the end of the first game. There is so much being expanded upon beyond the fact...
I'm going to teach you how to swim. That was one of the things.
Beyond the fact that it's just a beautiful scene to enjoy, you know. You
can see his love for her, just the way he's looking at her in those scenes. You can tell
that museum,
she's like a daughter to him.
That museum scene is the happiest we've ever seen both of those characters. You know, the whole shuttle scene was beautiful, you know.
To show that they had some happiness before it all went to shit.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, so the flashbacks, I like how they expand and that question that Ellie always had, and clearly for me, I felt like the end of The Last of Us, she kind of understood that he wasn't being completely honest, but she decided in that moment to accept it. I think it's ambiguous, which is why it was such a great ending, but I think the second game kind of confirms that, because, you know, the scene at the beginning when he walks in and she's there with her headphones in, and there's a little bit of distance between them, both physically and, you know, otherwise.
And he's awkward around.
Yeah, he's awkward, and he's trying to kind of, you know, bear himself a little bit, playing her the song, and, you know, she's not completely averse to him, but there's something there, and then it just continues to build as the flashbacks continue, which I thought were great. The guitars, this linking device between the two, was awesome. I loved the Dina and Ellie relationship, actually. I thought that the chemistry between them was really natural, which is built upon a lot in just the walking around and the dialogue that's outside of cutscenes. Goes without saying that the game's great at doing cutscenes and leading you right into the action seamlessly, and it just feels so like you're a part of it more than hardly any other game I played, I think. But yeah, so going back to Abby's Day 2, which is my favorite section of the game gameplay-wise, I love the sky bridge, going down through the skyscraper, and then the hospital with the Rat King. That was so fucking enjoyable. And it kind of kills me because I died at the beginning when he chases you through the halls, and I kind of went to the wrong door. And it only annoys me because I played a perfect run. I didn't die at all. So it would have been nice to just go through the whole thing and not die once, just to have like a kind of cinematic feeling to it. But just this like thing that's been like down there for 25 years, 30 years, just like this a mass of humans, and just, it was awesome.
When he came out, I said, oh my God, his leg is screaming. And he's like, what? There's a head on his leg and it's screaming. And I was just like, this is just horrific.
I was loving it. It was
that's
cool.
when I knew there is no way I'm ever playing that game. It's just not happening. I had dreams about that basement place in the... Yeah.
And then you're shooting it, and then like a person comes out of it, and then you got to fight. And brilliant, so cool.
Blah.
And then the Day 3, Abby's Day 3. I mean, I do think Abby has a lot more cool set pieces than the Ellie sections.
Maybe
like
that's
the whole,
what makes people pissed off too.
And maybe the whole Scar Island thing was just awesome. I just loved the urgency of it. The relationship that Abby built up with Lev as well, which is very much like an analog with Joel and Ellie. You know, that kind of I don't know, because Lev loses everything, you know, at a certain point, you know, and that's a very tragic story. And yeah, so I don't know where to, because again, I could just go on and on, really. So Abby's Day 3 ends. Okay, one thing I will say is that when Ellie's section ends and Abby's at the theater, like the whole time I'm thinking, where's Abby? When are we going to get to her? And then finally she's at the theater, and it's like, holy shit. And actually, I end one playthrough, like literally 10 seconds before that cutscene. I was like, okay, I'm going to leave it there. And it's like, and I literally say in that playthrough, well, I guess we're not going to get to play as Abby then. I thought there was going to be some kind of, like, you know, two sides of the same coin. And I was like, so I guess that we're not going to get that. And then the next playthrough, I begin, and boom, straight away, we start as Abby. And there's that whole... It's like, I've mentioned it before, it's a bit like the cliffhanger on the end of a season of TV. Only instead of picking up with the next episode, you have to like watch another season of TV first before you get to the end of that cliffhanger.
Like Game of Thrones.
Because you have to play all of Abby's section first. And I think the fact that it's so long is frustrating, but it's meant to be challenging. And a key thing I think people misunderstand, in my opinion, about Abby is that the game isn't trying to make you, I don't think, the game isn't trying to make you sympathize with Abby. It's trying to get you to empathize with her. And there's a difference. It's not trying to make you feel sorry for her. It's trying to make you feel like you understand where she's coming from. Whether you like her or not is up to you. But what that section is doing is showing you all the steps that led to, what it led to, but also showing you how she is now and how she's trying to move forward from that. And how helping Lev, like I love the way that it's built up. When we first see Abby in the game, she's sleeping in the lodge in Jackson and she wakes up from a dream and she's really kind of unsettled. So she's clearly still traumatized over her father's death and the fact that she's potentially about to meet, the person who did it. And she doesn't sleep very well. And she has these nightmares, and we frequently see these nightmares where you have to play as her going into the hospital room, and first you see like Lev and Yara hung up with their guts hanging out, and so it's like she's haunted by that room in which her father died and she can't get free of it. When she goes back and saves Lev and Yara, she finds a purpose again, and then she has another dream that night where it's the hospital. When she opens the door, it's just her father there standing there just with open arms almost. And that's when she is able to accept what's happened and, see her father again in a dream that isn't this horrific nightmare. And it's just a really nice touch. And then there is another point where she's asleep and she wakes up and there's like a little smile on her face. So she's been dreaming. I think that's straight after that dream, actually. So there's this progression of her character in that sense. So I felt sorry for her. I did. And I started to like her, but it's a loaded thing. Can I forgive what she did? Can Ellie forgive what she did? And as it got to day 3,
I don't forgive what she did. I just understand it. I still when I started watching you playing again, my hatred for her came up again. And then if you started playing her again, I would then, okay, that's fine. I wouldn't forgive her, but Ellie did a whole lot worse than what she did.
Yeah.
She killed all of her friends and a pregnant friend. She didn't know she was pregnant, but she killed all of her friends. And she said that, you killed all of my friends. Yeah. Whereas she left Tommy and Ellie alive because all they wanted to do was kill Joel.
Yeah.
Whereas Ellie is just blasting everyone down. I'm not saying that Ellie is actually worse. And maybe that's one of the things that's making people so pissed off. But you are the one shooting all the people as well. You are playing Ellie. And when you are playing Abby, you are shooting everyone as well.
Yeah.
You could sneak away from a lot of the fights if you want to. You could actually avoid killing all those dogs as Ellie as well if you sneak around. I looked it up on Google because I wanted to see if there was a way for Luke to stop killing the dogs.
Yeah, and that was hard at the beginning. But then you could become desensitized to it, and then you play Abby, and then you see all the dogs you've just killed in the playpen. You're playing catch with them.
Yeah.
And Neil Druckmann, the director, did say that the game isn't trying to wag its finger at you and say, you should feel bad about this. It's just showing you the two sides of the story,
Yeah.
You can react to it.
The dogs had names.
You can react to it however you want, but...
They were their pets.
So, right, so I've been thrown off track here. I was somewhere, so...
You were with empathizing with Abby.
Right, okay, yeah, no, so the forgiving part, I think, when I play the game again and I see Abby brutally kill Joel, I don't feel angry, I feel just sad at the situation of how it came to be. And I've talked about it before again, where it's just I very much believe in this cycle of violence that has happened in our society and race, species, where at some point in history someone has realized, hey, if I just kill that person, I can take what they have and then I'll be better off. And then they've done that, and then it just goes and it just keeps spiraling, and then we have the world we live in today where people kill each other all the fucking time, and it's just pointless. And I think it's broken. There's no way we can fully fix it, I don't think.
I don't think that it would be fixed even if we had an apocalyptic world. I think there would still be world.
It would get worse.
Killing each
it would get
other.
worse, yeah.
Just like even Walking Dead is showing that there would be people killing each other because there would be no laws anymore.
Yeah, it would get worse.
And people who have an evil nature to them will just not have any reason to hold back because, well, humans are worse than animals. Really, the infected are better than the humans because they're walking around each other without hurting each other.
I was chatting on Twitter about this game, and there was a post saying who's the true villain of The Last of Us, and I just replied saying hatred, that's the villain of the game. And then someone was like, well, true, but there are villains in the game, the infected. And I'm like, no, the infected are just victims.
Yeah.
They're just these mindless, it's just completely, they're not villains at all.
You can tell how
There's
much
no
pain
intent.
they're in as well. Because when you're looking at the, what are they called, the runners? They're screaming in agony. They're stood there and they're like whimpering and stuff like that. They're in pain.
Yeah. So,
except for that big bastard. He's a fucking villain. Fuck that shit.
The Rat King.
Yeah.
So,
but I felt bad for the thing coming out of it a little bit when you were beating it to death.
so when on day 3, I started empathizing and sympathizing with Abby. I'm not saying everyone should do that, but I started to feel both of those emotions. And I thought, actually, no, before day 3, because we kept hearing about the island, the Seraphites Island, I thought the ending of the game was going to be Abby and Ellie meeting up.
Yeah.
And they were going to go together to the island, and there was going to be this big end game thing, and they were going to join sides. I'm thinking like The Last Jedi, like the throne room scene, like, the two characters join forces, this amazing moment.
I thought they would find another doctor who could
make
the cure,
there's so
and
many,
then Ellie would say, just take me.
There's so many possibilities, and then...
that would have been a great ending.
I still thought that, I still hoped that, because obviously in my mind I'm like, right, Abby's going to get to the theatre, she's going to shoot Jesse, but the thing is, Abby and Ellie were never going to meet each other in that situation at the theatre and go, hang on a minute, wait, let me just give you the past 3 days of my life beamed into your head and you'll understand. Yeah. It's not going to happen, so I foolishly and idealistically hoped that they would see what I had seen by playing both of those,
but they couldn't.
But they couldn't. And so you have this cruel twist where what I thought was the end of the game is you're playing as Abby and the final boss is Ellie. And I'm like, oh my god. And you don't want to fight Ellie, but you have to. You're forced to. So, and people say that it's like a cheap trick. I don't think it is. It brought out this emotion I'd never felt before.
It's supposed to make you emotional, and that's what makes it great.
Yeah.
If it didn't make you emotional, it wouldn't be a great game.
Right, and so, so that part happens, and it's like the whole part where Dina, who's pregnant... face is bloodied up by Abby. She's about to slit her throat, and Ellie's like, she's pregnant, and Abby's like, good, and it's like, oh my god. And then Lev stops her.
She was angry because she just killed Mel.
Yes, and then Lev stopped. Yeah. She's thinking about Mel. She's thinking like eye for an eye,
Yeah.
And then Lev stops her, and that was where it probably should have ended. Well, maybe not actually. Even though
if Lev hadn't been there, she would have been dead.
Yeah, and
so he changed her.
Yeah, and then we have the ending at the farm, which I thought was the ending. I thought, they're doing the Uncharted 4 ending. It's like the happily ever after epilogue.
Flashback, the anxiety thing that she went through.
The PTSD.
That was...
And it's so well, it's so well done because it gives you this time to just explore, and it's this beautiful setting. It's so calm. And they just go round up the sheep, and then boom, and then it really hits you. And then Tommy comes in, and I was going.
Really great.
I was going through all these stages of like, is this the end? Is this the end? And then like Tommy comes in, and he's like, you promised you were gonna go and get her and all this, and I'm like, oh, is this setting up the third game? Because it felt like it was the end, and then we realized that Ellie just can't let it go, and she has to go after her, and that's when you see Abby and Lev again.
I hated Tommy then.
Yeah.
I was just, you selfish bastard.
But he's also lost everything. Lost,
but he still has one good eye. He can go and do it himself.
He's lost his brother. He feels like I'm sure he feels responsible for Jesse's death. And then there's the fact that his wife left him. He's now disabled pretty much. Like, he's lost everything.
Yeah, then he's about to sacrifice Ellie's life to have her go and do it again when she finally has a family.
Yeah. So I understand his position.
Fuck him a little bit.
But yes, fuck him a little bit for sure.
It's not his position then, is it? He's putting his position in her hands. If he wants it so much, he should just do it. Or at least go with her. Instead of sending her off on her own.
Well, he can't, can he? He's not...
She wore Joel's jacket when she left
She
the
did
farm.
wear Joel's jacket,
You didn't mention it when you were playing. I was like, Luke, say it,
I didn't notice it. One thing I didn't notice was when she came back at the end and tried to play the guitar. And I thought the guitar was out of tune. I was like, oh, it's showing that she's out of tune. Like, it's just really wanky.
When you see her in front of the farm, it's on her fingers being missed.
I saw that, but I just didn't think about it when she started playing the guitar. So I completely missed that detail, which was very obvious, but
You probably didn't think left hand is the one that you use.
I probably didn't think that at all, no. So...
You can learn how to play left-handed.
There's been a lot of discussion about that. Anyway, so we just get really deep into all these little bits of minutia.
I knew we were going to do that.
Yeah, I'm trying to like wrap up here. So yeah, when we see Abby and Lev again, I was like, holy shit, there's more of the game. But it still felt like it was near the end, and it is. There's only a couple of hours after that. And I love the scene when Abby and Lev find the radio, and she finds the Fireflies again. And she's got this like smile on her face, you know, her life's changed now. She's moved on from what happened before. She's moving forward, and she's trying to basically go back to the journey that her dad had started her on. And, you know, so it's really nice. It shows you that she's completely changed. But then they get captured by these fucking evil bastards, the Rattlers, these slavers. They're
pretty much Negan.
They're villains. They're true villains. Just there's no black and white there. They're just mean bastards. And then Ellie comes in, and then you think it's going to be a rescue mission. It kind of is, but it's also what's going to happen when she finally gets to Abby. Incredible sequence on the beach. There's a very purposefully placed person up on those posts who has a braid, and you think it's Abby, but it isn't.
So fun to see the other people walking right up to her as well.
And then when you see her, I mean, that was just so heartbreaking because
skinny, short-haired.
The braid is like such a defining characteristic. I mean, for one thing, you're playing the game third person, you see the braid in front of you the whole time.
Yeah.
And also to me, it felt like the braid was like this symbol of her power, and it had been stripped from her at the end.
It's like a samurai.
A little bit, yeah, and also
they cut the hair, and then that's wait, it's the Shanghai people. If you cut the braid, you take away their pride.
The top knot is
a top knot as well. Okay, same in China.
Very much considered, but yeah. In the first flashback, when you have Abby and her dad, she has the braid, but it's very short. So it's like it's grown since then. It's like something she's held on to. I don't know. It just felt like such a symbolic thing.
Gross.
It does, but it's like she keeps it in the style she had when she was a kid, when she was last with her dad, and she holds on to that. And then when it's taken away, she just looks so different and so vulnerable at the end. So there was just no way I would ever want to fight her as Ellie, but Ellie can't let that go. So that whole scene at the end, we have to fight Abby. It's like one of the most emotional things I've experienced playing a game, watching a film, because I didn't want to do it. Every slice of that knife was painful to me. I don't know how it comes across in the playthrough because I haven't edited it yet, but I was like just sniffling through the whole thing. I was just like, no,
I couldn't hear that,
I was just
actually.
like, no, I just don't want to do this.
Don't fight! I don't want to do this. No!
And then she's choking her. I'm just like, this isn't the way. This isn't the way for Ellie to go. This isn't going to give her anything. It isn't going to make things right. And then she decides to leave her. and then
flashback.
And then the flashback and that scene with her and Joel. It was a nice...
she said she'd like to forgive him, so...
It was a nice...
I was worried that they left it off at a bad note, but they didn't, and that made me... That's what made me cry more earlier.
Well, you could argue they left it on a bad note when the last thing Joel saw as his head was being caved in was Ellie screaming on the floor. But yes.
Yeah, but he could tell she cared.
yeah. So, I mean, that whole thing where, they have that meeting on the porch and
Yeah.
It's implied that they haven't spoken for a couple of years properly. They've been estranged since the whole incident when she found out what happened, which was...
And him accepting her liking girls as well,
Sure.
I think was an important part because she was worried about that.
It was important, but I liked that it wasn't a big thing either. You know, so it is
he
important.
Just said like that.
Yeah.
You're like, what was she said? Like he said, you're too good for her, or she better treat you good, or something like that.
No, she'd be lucky to have you, or something like that.
Oh, right, something like that. And then I was like, oh.
So, yeah, so it's kind of a consolation that they ended things on a nice note, but also like when she first finds out at the hospital, when Joel finally tells her, I love how they play it. There's so many moments in the game where the acting is without the dialogue, which you only really see in movies. But the technology has advanced so far now where she says to Joel, like, tell me the truth or I'm never coming back. I don't care what it is. If you tell me the truth, I'll come back. And he just sits there, and he stands there, and his face is just like, and his lips just like, and he doesn't know what to say, and it's so painful for him to say this. Like you just feel it in the facial expressions that it's taking so much for him to say it, and then he says it, and the way she just collapses and holds her chest, and the tears are just like falling out of her face, which is amazing performances. And then at the end,
saying that they're done.
Yeah, and then at the end when, you know, they're talking about it, and she's like, you know, you took my purpose in life from me, basically. And he says, well, if I had a chance to do it all over again, I'd do it. You know, it is what it is. I care about you that much. I'm sorry, I couldn't go without you, basically. And she said, I don't think I can forgive you for that, but I'd like to try. And then again, a similar moment where his face is kind of screwing up a bit, and he's getting a bit choked up, and he's like, I'd like that. And so it's the best we could have hoped for in a story like this.
And then they were going to have a movie night the night after.
Yeah, Ellie talks about that in the beginning of the game. I'm thinking of inviting Joel over for a movie, you know.
Yeah.
So, and then the ending at the farm, which is ambiguous. You know, where does she go from there? She leaves the guitar behind. She leaves everything behind, and you could argue that
she goes back to.
Possibly, yeah, but also, I mean, I don't know. Anyway, so we could speculate on where they could go if they do another game. I don't
think there will at this point with all the hates.
Well, I don't know. Which is
what's making me even more upset.
No, I don't think so, because again, in that Troy Baker interview on his channel, Neil Druckmann was saying that...
Yeah, but wouldn't they be worried that people wouldn't buy the next game
because
of it?
No, he was saying, Neil Druckmann was saying that it's great when people love the game and everything, and no, what was he saying? That he made a good point. He was talking about, like, you know, no, he's saying the sales being huge and great is great and everything, but all I really care about is just it doing well enough that we can do another one, you know, whether that means part 3 or a different game at Naughty Dog, you know. For him, it's, you know, he wants to keep doing the stuff that he is doing. So hopefully I think that he will follow whatever impulse he has, whether it is a part 3 or whether it's something completely new altogether. And I do think, personally, a part 3 could really be great because the first game is Joel kind of reaching a journey of becoming human again. And part 2 is Ellie kind of destroying her life, basically. There's a little bit of hope at the end, but not too much. And so if there was a part 3 that was about Ellie's journey back to, you know, what Joel did at the end of the first one, you'd have a complete trilogy. And part 2 would be that classic second act, everything goes to shit. And now we have to claw back in the final section, which most trilogies, that's kind of the structure that it goes to. Empire Strikes Back. All the good guys lose at the end. And then it's the final, you know, resolution and redemption at the end. So it'd be great to see, but I think that it stands on its own 2 legs at the same time. And, yeah, I mean, this, again, could just keep going on and on. So, anything else you'd like to add?
Probably, but
yeah.
I don't want to get started again.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it's the best game I've ever been witness to, and I have to say witness.
Yeah.
If I could play it, then I would, and I probably would have already played it 3 times round. But I can't handle the scary stuff. I don't have any problem watching it, but I get so stressed out when I play that I just turn the game off.
Yeah.
I started playing the first one. I couldn't deal with it because I was so uncomfortable. Like, I have some kind of anxiety against clickers. Don't know what it is. But just for me, it's just a pure masterpiece. I really appreciate what they've done. It's been a lot of hard work for them to create that world and do all of the visuals and the gameplay, but the story itself for me is the best part of the game for me.
Yeah.
And it would have been that if I was playing as well. It's got so many levels to it, and how it can make someone feel so many types of feelings. Like, there were funny parts, feeling so much hatred for someone, and then making me change my mind. That's some powerful shit, you know? And then a journey going on for 25 hours, you can't get that from a movie either. And that's also what I appreciate, because for me, I was watching a movie or a very long TV series because I didn't play it. But it's just great if they make another one. I don't know how they can make you feel as emotionally invested in anything the way that they would have to have a part 1 and a part 2. If they're going to make another game like Uncharted or Last of Us, they have to start with the first one, get you loving the characters, and then they have to do a part 2. So it's going to take a lot of years for them to make something else.
True, yeah, to have that kind of impact,
take about 10
because
years.
You already have that love for the characters built in. You know, would I have liked to have seen Joel survive the whole game? Sure. But I think that this world is a world which is defined by loss and the way characters deal with it. And so you just have these 3 great characters, I think, who all make bad decisions. And
no other character would have made you feel that way either. You played as Joel throughout the whole first game. If someone was going to die to make you feel this emotionally invested, Joel was the one that had to go.
Yeah.
They knew that. If Ellie died, because you didn't play her that much in the first one, you wouldn't have felt the same way. It wouldn't have felt the same for him to go out on his revenge path. You would have felt strongly, sure, but there would be no reason for anyone to kill Ellie. You needed a reason, and that's why it had to be Joel. To kill Tommy, you wouldn't care as much.
You wouldn't care as much.
They made the right choice.
Yeah.
It's bad, but that's what good storytelling is. And I told Luke, like, that he's like 3rd runner-up for like a dad figure I'd want to have. You know? And he's like, well, 3rd? No, I said 4th.
Yeah.
And I think you said, who's 3rd? And I'm like, no, maybe he's 3rd, and then Hugh Jackman is 4th. I think it was Hugh Jackman I said. But yeah, it's just, the love that I started feeling for Joel when he was playing that song for her, and then with the flashbacks, it's just, there's a reason why I cried so much. I hated that they killed him, but it was necessary, and that's what made it great. Because I opened up my mind for it, I managed to actually enjoy everything, even though it was painful. And that's important.
It's interesting because The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2 are hailed as like 2 of the greatest films ever made. And The Godfather follows Al Pacino as this inherently good person at the beginning who by the end of it kind of becomes the villain, but it's also almost seen as a triumph at the end at the same time, which is a little bit of kind of where Joel goes at the end of the first game. And then Godfather Part 2, you know, by the end of it, Michael Corleone has lost everything pretty much. And again, it's not completely similar, but there's a comparison there where there are stories that are told which people think are these great masterpieces, where the main character does bad things and at the end of it, you know, has kind of lost a lot of stuff. Kind of what happens with Ellie, and so there's a sliver of hope at the end, but she's lost a lot at the same time, and it's cost her pretty much everything. But I think that whether we see a part 3 or not, we can imagine where she goes from there and how she resolves that. But anyway,
it's like an Inception ending. She could go on for like herself, or she could go after Dina and go back to Jackson. Was it Jackson?
Jackson, yeah.
That's where I would go, but I mean, Ellie's all fucked up now, so she might actually go to find Abby and see if they can find a cure.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
If I was Ellie, I would try and find a way for her to be the cure again. If she's lost everything, she might as well do one last good thing, because she's done a lot of shitty things. Nothing really beats killing a pregnant woman in a game, I don't think.
Yeah, that's awful. Just awful.
I hate it when they killed the horse. Oh my god, how I hated their guts.
Horses don't fare well in these games, do they?
No.
So
dogs either.
yeah, just to take that person at the beginning of the game who you kind of have this disgust for and hatred for, and then, you know, again, for me, the most emotional part was not Joel dying, it was Ellie slicing up Abby at the end. That was the toughest part of the game for me, which, if you told me that before I played it, I would have been like, I don't think so. But it was, because it was it's different, you know? And I like that it was different. I like that it took these chances, and it's the burden that people like Neil Druckmann and Ryan Johnson have to bear. And I think it's Haley Gross, who also co-wrote the game, where you tell a story that's using these characters that people love, and you're taking them to really dark and deep places, and a lot of people just can't handle it, and then they just get really fucking weird and
angry.
Yeah, angry. But that's kind of the nature of the internet, I suppose. But anyway,
I guess in 2020 you can't expect any less.
True. Yeah.
Say one wrong word anywhere and people hate you. So
yeah. And this is like a 25-hour long worth story that can really, I think, rub people the wrong way.
I just
Anyway, enough about the hates.
No. I just hope that, because yes, this is a game, but the people who wrote it are human beings with emotions.
Oh, sure, yeah, absolutely.
And you can tell when they're doing the interviews, like they're mourning for Joel. There's actual grief there, because who loves him more than the people who made the game themselves?
Who created it to begin with.
And then the people who are the fans out there that didn't spend 1 hour making this game are hating on them because they killed him. Do you think they hate themselves a little bit more? Yes, I do. And they have emotions, and going around and saying so much bad stuff to them is so unnecessary.
Yeah.
They didn't kill a person. They killed a fictional character to make a great game.
They killed pixels.
Pixels. In a hard drive. It's a game, and I'm saying that, and I'm crying about it, but I feel like that's for the right reasons. You don't go around and give like death threats to people.
Yeah,
because
that's just silly. That's just petulance, and
it's there's a limit to things, and if you can't handle those kind of things, you shouldn't play the games. Just go back to Call of Duty and stuff like that. Not that that's a bad game, but it's basically just going around shooting.
Yeah.
Or go back to Fortnite. He plays Fortnite. It's not much to a story.
No.
Yeah, so just play it. If you don't want to put some emotions into a game, don't play something as massive as The Last of Us that they pour their entire soul into, and then go around and calling them really bad things and death threats. It's terrible. They're human beings. Yeah. They pour their whole lives into it. You know, it's if you don't got nothing good to say, just don't say it. Not that I'm saying I'm saying some good things. I'm just trying to defend innocent people in a way. It's a game. Stop saying that they need to die. It's terrible, horrible.
But the game was great.
No, it wasn't great. It was fantastic. It was amazing. It was a masterpiece.
I do think it is easily the best game I've ever played. I don't know if it's my favourite, but I mean, it's splitting hairs, really.
Because it's so dark. If you want to have a favourite game, you might not want to sit there and cry and sob.
Perhaps, but I don't know. We'll see how it holds up on a second playthrough. But
I can't wait for you to play through again.
Just an incredible game.
I wish I hadn't seen it already, so I could watch it again.
Same. I wish I could play it all over again.
It's like an amazing book when you finish it and it's the end, and you're like, oh damn, I wish I hadn't read it.
Yeah, I mean,
I want to experience it for the first time again.
I'm starting Ghost of Tsushima at the moment, and it's beautiful, but it's just like, it's not Last of Us,
It's like the Joker for me. Once I'd seen the Joker, I was like, every movie I watched for about half a year, I was like, it's not the Joker though. I'm not feeling it in here, you know?
It's like that monkey in space, he can never get that high again.
Yes! Can never get that high again. It's... Well, then again, I mean, they're only going to get better. Naughty Dog are amazing in what they do, and the technology is going to get better. And as long as they don't take it in on them and people destroy their souls with their shit talking, then they will probably make more amazing games in the future.
I'm sure they will. So I guess we'll leave it there.
Yeah.
So thank you for watching.
It's hard not to get emotionally invested in this, honestly.
Yeah, and I would.
This is me holding back.
I would say that you got more emotionally invested in it than I did.
Well, that's
for
because
sure.
I don't like it when people talk shit about people.
No, I mean the game. I mean purely the game. Like,
yeah, well, I guess, because when I was watching it, I got to see it in a different light, whereas you had to concentrate on killing too. You have to put a different type of focus into it.
I suppose. Anyway, right.
And I really, really, really love Joel.
Yeah. So let's wrap this up. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed our discussion.
Sorry it was so long.
Yeah, just
but we did warn you.
Unavoidable, I think, really. So
About an hour.
Yeah. Thank you for watching my playthrough. I don't know if I'll put this up before. I don't know.
I'm sorry that I cried.
That's fine. That's fine. At some point,
it's very late.
At some point, the whole playthrough will be up if you want to skim through that and see some of the best bits. Otherwise, that's been The Last of Us Part 2. Maybe down the line I'll do that in-depth thing, but I don't know. I don't think I'll have the time to do it.
By the time you do it, it would have faded.
Yeah,
for it.
There's that, but then I wouldn't want to do it just to capitalize on views anyway. I just love, there's so many details I'd love to talk about, but it's just not enough time. Anyway, that's it. Yeah, let's do a video this long and say there's not enough time. But there you go. Last of Us Part 2. Classic. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.
Sorry again.
Bye.